Rafael Echeverría holds an undergraduate degree in sociology from the Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile and a doctorate in philosophy from the University of London. He was awarded the title of Doctor Honoris Causa from the Universidad Siglo XXI in Argentina. Of his many distinctions,
Hello, everybody. Welcome to being here with us today.
AS. Echeverría is the founding partner and president of Newfield Consulting, an international consultancy with offices in the United States, Spain, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Venezuela, and Colombia. He has been a professor at various universities, a consultant to the ILO, UNICEF, National Commission of Science and Technology of Brazil, the Monterrey Institute of Technology, the Center for Quality of Management in the United States, and a member of the International Committee of the Society for Organizational Learning.
Welcome, everybody, for joining us today to continue celebrating the English publication of Rafael Echeverría's work. And today we are delighted to present two new titles, On Learning and Ethics and Ontological Coaching. Although they explore different subjects, these books are deeply connected. Learning reminds us that transformation is possible only when we remain open to questioning what we already know to become a different observer. Ethics remind us that transformation is never only about effectiveness. It is also about responsibility, dignity, and the way in which our actions affect others. Together, these books invite us to reflect on two essential questions for coaches, leaders, and human beings. How do we learn and transform? And from what ethical ground do we choose to act? We are grateful to everyone who made these English editions possible, translators, reviewers, editors, and the members of the Newfield Consulting community all around the world. So thank you for being here, all of you. It's our pleasure to have with us Alicia Pizarro. Alicia is the CEO of Newfield Consulting, and she has been a leading voice in expanding the reach of ontological coaching around the world. Her commitment to preserving and sharing Rafael Echeverría's legacy continues to inspire the Newfield community and the many professionals who have been transformed by this work. So thank you, Alicia, for being here with us today. And now I would like to introduce Juan Carlos Saez. Juan Carlos is the editor of Rafael Echeverría's work and has played a leading role in making these publications available to English-speaking audience. So to start with, I would like to introduce you, Juan Carlos, and give you the word. Juan Carlos.
Thank you. Good evening. One thing I would like to have the picture of the cover of Ethics and Ontological Coaching in the screen, if it's possible, please. Good evening, and thank you all for being here. Tonight, we have the joy of presenting two books by Rafael Echeverría in their first English edition, On Learning and Ethics and Ontological Coaching. I will speak only about the second one, since our translator of On Learning, Sean Brown, will share a deeper reflection on the process of translating that book. It is a special moment for us to bring ethics and ontological coaching into English. It has been a work of care, of translation, of editing, of many conversations, and tonight I would like to share a few reflections on one decision in particular, the cover. For the Spanish edition, we had chosen a different image, but as we prepared this English edition, we found ourselves wanting something else, and for two reasons. The first was a matter of belonging. This book joins a collection, and the other titles in the collection share a visual language. Classical European paintings, human figures caught in a moment of contemplation, of reflection, of knowledge. We wanted this book to recognize at once part of that family. The second reason mattered even more to us. We wanted a cover whose root reached down into the content of the book itself, an image that would not merely decorate the text, but speak it. After searching together with Rafael through many possibilities, we choose the Philosopher in Meditation painted by Rembrandt in 1632. At first glance, it is a quiet painting. An old man sits in contemplation, bathed in the light that enters through a window. But look to his side, and you will see a spiral staircase winding down into shadow. And that is where, for us, the painting meets the book. Echeverría tells us that the passage from one way of understanding reality to another, from what he calls the metaphysical ontology to the emergent one, it's not simple. The most effective path, he writes, is the way through the shadow, the willingness to enter the dark region of the soul, where we keep our forgotten memories, our accumulated wounds, the dimension of ourselves we have learned not to see. That is precisely what Rembrandt gives us, a human being seated at the edge of his own inner darkness, light beside him, shadow awaiting him, who senses where is something there that belongs to him, that constitutes him, but who has not yet dared to make the descent. This is the very situation of coachee, an ontological coaching grounded in a rigorous ethical commitment is what offers both the invitation of companionship to undertake that journey because, as the book reminds us, to make it alone is very difficult indeed. So, this cover is not only beautiful, it is faithful. It holds in a single image the spirit and the purpose of everything Rafael Echeverría has written here. An edition like this is never the work of a single pair of hands, and I would like to thank the team that make it possible. My special gratitude goes to Claudia Espinosa, our translator, whose care and sensitivity carried Echeverría's thought across into English without losing its depth or its music. I thank Cristina Cordero, our translation director, for her guidance, Sebastián Yats for the precision of his co-editing and proofreading, and Jeju Jure de la Cerda for the design of the book and this cover we have been speaking about. To all of them, and to Rafael Echeverría and Alicia Pizarro for their trust, but my heartfelt thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan Carlos, for your words and for helping us to understand more from the book, from having a deep comprehension of the cover. Thank you very much. Okay, now it's the time to invite our 4 panelists who will accompany us today in this conversation. And each of them will bring us a different perspective of these publications, combining experience in ontological coaching, organizational leadership, education, translation, and consulting. We will begin our conversation with On Learning, and to open this third part, it's my pleasure to invite Elizabeth Salgado. Elizabeth's experience brings together executive leadership, organizational transformation, and ontological coaching. offering a valuable perspective from which to reflect on learning. So Liz, we are ready to listen to you.
Thank you, Guille. First of all, thank you to Alicia and Paz for inviting me to this presentation. I'm really honored for this. And let me tell you, the first time I received the invitation, my first thought was, why me? And my first emotion, fear. And of course, my body, stress in the body. And then I started thinking and say, okay, the name of the book is on learning. I never do something like this. I have never done something like this. So why not? This is also a learning experience. Let's do it. Be brave, Liz. Let's do it. And I received the book and I started reading it. What a marvelous experience was it. Reading in a different language. The concepts that I already learned in the past. The concepts, the things, the thoughts, reflections that I've been working with during the last 2-3 years, but in English. And that was great. It opened my mind to a new way of viewing things, new learning experiences. And to make an example of this, let me just give you one small thing, one example. I have read about the observer and how we learn, and first and second learning, and also transformational learning. But then I arrived to this phrase in English. With transformative learning, we can speak of a mutation or metamorphosis of the soul of each individual particular. I say, soul, wow, that's a different meaning. That is not the same than in Spanish. And I started looking in my books and say, how do we say it in Spanish? And I found something like, el corazón del observador, the heart of the observer. I said, yes, but observer, it's something that is not easy to understand from the beginning. You need to read, reflect, and make a lot of conversations to understand the observer. But soul, the word, lead me to a new world. The soul, the person, the whole person with all their thoughts, the emotions, the corporality, everything. So that's just one example of how this book touched myself. And I recommend for everybody, if you have already read it in Spanish, do it in English. It's great. Now let me connect it to the coaching practice, because of course the book is great, and we all know that how Rafael gives us a lot of things to reflect and learn. And I said, okay, yes, coaching, what we do in coaching, what we try to do in each coaching process and session is for the coachee to learn something about their own person, the self. And I also find something great here in this book that made me connect. It's not about just the coaching process, but in the part that is called, and let me change my glasses, because now I read to read, transformation and conservation. And Rafael says here, the direction that it has to take must be defined by each one, by each individual. I say, yes. In coaching, it's not the coach, the person who is leading and saying, yes, let's explore this or let's do this. It's the coachee, and in respect for the coachee. Second, he says, nothing forces us to abandon what we believe in, what we still make sense to us, what has value in our lives. Yes, that's also part of the coaching process. We, again, respect the person. If the person considers that that way of thinking, that emotion is still making sense, we respect that. And third, he says, it's not a question of changing everything, because even if we want to, this is not possible. And I found new meaning also about coaching on reading this. So the book, the language, everything has been a marvelous experience for me, and I really recommend to read it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz. Thank you very much. Now I would like to introduce, I said love because I saw a heart and I said love instead of like. The brain is working. So now I would like to introduce Sean Brown. Yes, he's our next speaker. Sean is an educator, translator, interpreter, and he has worked closely with language and meanings throughout his professional career. And his participation in the English edition gives us the opportunity to explore the experience of bringing Rafael ideas to a new linguistic and cultural context. So as the translator of the book, we would like to listen to you, Sean.
Thank you very much, Guillermina. And I want to repeat some of the things that Liz said. I really appreciate, first of all, being here and participating in this. I think we've all been at book launches. This is not really something new. If you're interested in reading, you like literature, etc. But I never in my entire life dreamed of actually participating in one of these. It just wasn't really something that entered into my scope of experience. So it's tremendously satisfying for me to be part of this, and it's especially satisfying for me to be part of the translation team, headed, as Juan Carlos said, by Cristina Cordero, and working with Claudia Espinosa. I wish she were closer. She's so far away in Colombia, but we feel her here in Santiago, and we miss her. And also, I'm not the translator of this book. I'm the co-translator of this book. There's a bit of backstory to this, and sorry, I do actually want to appreciate the author himself, Rafael Echeverría. It's an honor for me to translate your work. And Alicia, it's been wonderful to work with you, and I'm just so grateful. Moving on, because my time is, I have limited time. I want to speak to you about a couple of things that were challenging for me and for us. And what I was saying was I'm the co-translator with Sebastian Jatz. I want to say Hatz, but Jatz, who can't be here this evening. So I kind of feel like I'm speaking for both of us. And this translation was an interesting project in that we had just translated before this Observers and Their Worlds. And some of that work is part of the book on learning, which is selected writings. So it's kind of interesting to go directly from the first book that we translated to a sort of a greatest hits. I don't think many artists get to do that straight away, right? And so I want to share a couple of kind of anecdotes. I mean, there were conversations, and I wish that I remembered some of the conversations a little bit better in terms of the title of the book. Believe it or not, that wasn't really an easy choice, or it wasn't obvious that the book should be called On Learning. There were lots of conversations about prepositions and how do we pitch this, and you know, do we want to try something maybe a little bit more inventive or a little bit more, I don't know, something to grab your attention, etc. So there were conversations that were had for sure. But one of the things that I found challenging, and I clearly remember this, was first I did, a first read of the book, and there are some images in this book of, I know a lot of you obviously come from the coaching and Newfield Consulting background. And so you're going to know what the OSAR model is, and probably you're going to know what OSAR means in Spanish, looking at the names of the people who are with us this evening. It doesn't really take much explaining, but this idea of OSAR, like I'm going to do it, I'm challenging myself to do this. I had a look at this chart, and luckily the words translate very quickly and easily into English, because you've got the system, you've got the observer, you've got action, and you've got the results, and they're all tied together, and this makes sense, and it's perfectly clear, you understand it when you see this chart. But it needs to be more than that when you're talking about it in words. And so the first idea was we would call it oars. And I just found that so disappointing, that you're dipping your paddle into the water and you're taking your kayak down the river or whatever. I mean, into the rapids if you want to, but the original language in Spanish didn't really lend itself to that. And so we came up with the idea of soar, where you're like an eagle or a condor, if you will, up in the sky, looking at this from above, and you're observing, which makes perfect sense, right? When you think about it. And again, it uses the same letters. And in fact, they're actually in the order that you see them in the chart: system, observer, action, results. And it was just like, this is perfect. This is the way it should be. And there we had it. And, you know, there's a little bit of finicky things and some nuance that needed to be ironed out, but it just made sense. It just, you know, came together. You could use an ornithological metaphor and say it kind of dovetailed. And there we were. In terms of other anecdotes about things that were challenging for me, I don't want to sound overly confident, but a book on teaching translated by, or in part translated by, a teacher who's been teaching for 30 odd years, it just made a lot of sense to me. And a lot of the things that Rafael was explaining, talking about, like, you know, clearly presenting in a way that, like Liz says, gets you to reflect. And there were some challenging things for me, for sure, because I hadn't seen it from that perspective. But for the most part, there was like, this makes sense. This is good. This is, and I came up I came up against a couple of things like metanoia. Like, I never really thought about, you know, what words they were using in ancient Greece to talk about learning and that. And that was already translated, because it's been a word that's been around for so long. There have been lots of reflections on, you know, what that meant originally, or how that has transformed itself over the years. And I really liked the way Rafael pitches it, in the sense that, you know, it was repentance, it was regret, it was all this kind of negativity, and yet it can be considered transformation. It can be, and I can almost, you know, link it back to the soar as kind of like the observer checking things out and looking internally, but also looking externally and considering, what am I seeing? What am I not seeing? What am I saying? What am I not saying when I'm silent? Or what am I not saying in what I'm saying? What do I leave out? There are all of these. And then from the learning, we get into the philosophy, which I suppose was the biggest challenge for me. There are lots of things that I'm like, that language is not quite, but you Google it. And yeah, in philosophy, they talk about this all the time. So there you have it. I'm really happy that this book is being launched finally in English, and like Liz says, I hope that you all read it. If you read it in Spanish and you haven't read it in English, I invite you to read it in English as well. It's I think it's a gem.
Thank you, Sean, for your words, for your invitation to us to connect with the work that translating a book really takes. It's much more than translating words. You have to keep the heart of the author, and it's a very hard work. So thank you very much for sharing this with us. Okay, now I would like you to invite you to reflect on the second book that we are presenting today, which is Ethics and Ontological Coaching. And in this second part, I'm delighted to introduce Claudia Espinosa. Claudia is a translator of the English edition of this book, and she has made a significant contribution to bring Rafael Echeverría's work to English-speaking readers. So we would like to listen to you, Claudia, and to share your experience with us.
Thank you, Guillermina. For me, it's been such an honor and such a pleasure to delve into all these words and masticarlos, to keep grinding and looking at them. But the translating team was just great. Sean, with his humor, always had us laughing, and Cristina with her whip, and Juan Carlos with his niceness, and Sebastian, so specific. No, it's really been really fun. But different, as opposed to Sean, I'm a coach. I'm part of the Newfield family, which is the best that has happened to me. So I was familiar with some terms, so I was rather confident that this was going to be fine, and I'm going to do well here with these words, famous last words. It was not so. But I like the fact that this book had to do with coaching, ethics. I'm a coach, and Newfield is so intent on ethics. Ethics is, I think, the centerpiece of Newfield. So it was really nice to go in directly into that. So this book starts with that image of Rembrandt with contemplation. So it was nice to relax a bit, contemplate what I'm trying to read, what I'm trying to say. And then the book is delightful because it goes into interpretation. What people do is interpret what they see, and I'm interpreting Rafael's words at the same time. So I'm doing coaching on this book. Not quite how it works, but anyway. And at the same time, of course, Rafael writes as how he speaks, and I've heard him speak a few times. So I would read it, and I would just have his image walking from one side to the next, which is his way of presenting his material. I just saw his figure with every word that I would be reading, and something particular happened because when I translate, I first do a translation that's word for word almost, so that nothing is left out. I leave it aside for a while, then I come back to it, and then start making it readable. So Rafael always has these complex ideas and wonderful language. He has such vocabulary. So I start thinking myself Rafaelish, I'm putting these nice words here and this nice vocabulary over there, and wow, I'm really proud of how pretty it sounds. And then it goes to Sebastian, And Sebastian starts scratching things out. Like, no, that verb is too flowery. No, you should, that was filled with red things. And so, yeah, he was absolutely right. I went back to the Spanish, and Rafael has simple, perfect verbs, but complex ideas. So that was really a learning experience. But again, I kept attached to what the book kept telling me. Humility, lightness, like what Nietzsche says, learning. So it has really been a learning experience for me. Um, this book is not very long. It's only 20,000 words. It's not a long book. But it is like what happens when you have to send a short letter. You have so many ideas and you have to reduce them to this. They simmer down to this. So in this book, every word counted. Had to be so precise. And going back to the issue of interpretations, my background is not philosophy. So I have my interpretation of my philosophy from school and whatever I've come across later. And the book also said that, Rafael also said, interpretations in themselves are also based on other interpretations. So I don't even know how far back I go when I'm reading Rafael's book and what slant I'm giving it that shouldn't be there. But again, like the systems theory, it goes in phases. We learn in phases, and we and simmer down all the words. But going back to some of the difficulties, so many difficulties. For example, the word quiebre is just such a perfect word, and you go breakdown. Breakdown is like what happens to a car. I guess we're going to resignify that word, breakdown. But of course, discussing with everybody else, that's what we decided, and that's what it'll be. But other words like programa metafísico, metaphysical program, project? No. And we had to, of course, discuss, and I think it even went back to Rafael, and no, let's call it metaphysical ontology. So there were so many things we had to hone into. Another was poems and words that had already been translated by philosophers. The works of Nietzsche, Heidegger, whoever, those have been translated so many times, and I couldn't pretend to translate those words. I had to go back to the philosophers who had translated them, and Christina was very, very intent and very clear on that point, to look at the translations that other people who know more about that topic and what is used in that area is used more. Humility comes in there very much. We have to, that's not my area, and I have to be respectful. But in all, I just want to say that this has been such a good learning experience, such a wonderful time, such a great team. Hope you read the book, hope you enjoy it as I did, and welcome the new book.
Thank you, Claudia, very much for your thoughtful and delicate work, you and the whole team translating these books. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, really. And now, finally, our last panelist is Natalia Calle, partner at Newfield Consulting Colombia. Of course, she's an ontological coach with a very big experience working with leaders and organizations. and she will help us to connect these reflections presented in the book with the challenge of coaching, leadership, and organizational life today. So we are very pleased to receive you, Natalia.
Thank you, Guille. Good afternoon, good evening for all. I'm very happy.
Natalia, can I interrupt? I didn't mention Natalia, who's been my beautiful coach and lovely and adorable and loved coach of mine and boss and everything.
Thank you. I'm very proud to have you in our team in Colombia also, to see that beautiful job you just finished. Thank you very much. So I want to share with you a little experience I had these last days when I received the book of Ethics and Ontological Coaching. And I think Juan Carlos and Rafael, that the cover, the picture, the image of the cover was beautifully selected, chosen. When I received it, I just stared at it for some minutes in silence, and my mind drifted away with the image. And suddenly another figure appeared on that picture. And for me, it was the figure of the coach. And for me, the coach in that picture is someone that is holding the hand of the man that's sitting next to the window. And they are walking up the stairway. And that figure holds a candle, a little light. And they are starting a journey up the stairway into the darkness, into the shadows of the soul. And that was the image that came to my mind. So I started asking myself, what is that little light? What is that candle that the coach holds in his hand or in her hand? And I thought it's made of many different lights. And the journey of the stairway is mainly an ethical journey. Because with that candle that the coach is holding, he's bringing light to the journey of that person that is walking up the stairway. And the first light that the coach is bringing is the light of his own experience, or her experience, of her or his life experience, of all the moments he has gone through, the light also of his training as a coach, of all the learning he or her have done throughout their life. And also the light of the light that he has shed upon his own shadow. That is for me the main light going up that stairway. The coach cannot help another person in that learning process if he or she has not shed light upon the darkness of the soul. And there is also another light, and is that the little candle helps create new meanings for the person that is walking through the stairway, up the stairway. Creates new meaning about life, about relationships, about work, about friendship, about happiness, about sadness, about life, about death also. And in doing so, in shedding light upon the meaning of all these aspects of our existence, the coach helps the coachee create the possibility or the conditions for a different type of coexistence with others, of peaceful coexistence with other human beings and with the different forms of life that also inhabit this planet. So there's another type of light in that process. There's also a light, beautiful light, ethical light that is necessary for the coaching process to occur and to be effective. And is the light that the coach creates with the coachee during a conversation. It's an emotional light. Rafael calls it the ethical emotional space. And it's an emotional atmosphere, an emotional environment of trust, of deep respect for the coachee, of love, of hope, of emotional positivity and emotional safety. And without that emotional light, it's impossible for the learning process to take place. It would be very scary for a coachee to go into the darkness of the soul without that light of hope and the light of possibility, of a new life, of new ways of relating to others, of creating meaning. So that is another type of light, and it's mainly ethical. We create an ethical atmosphere that enables the transformation of different aspects of the being of the person that is in coaching. And there is another last dimension, ethical dimension in that light. And for me, it's one of the most important and also the most beautiful, and is the humility that we have to develop going up that stairway. And it's the humility of knowing that we will never, never get to grasp or even touch completely the soul of the person that we are accompanying, that we are walking with. We will never be able to grasp the deepest aspects of his or her being. We will never get to really completely know that person. And I think that emotion of humility, but also the act of humility, of accompanying and walking with the person, with being sure that the other person will always remain a mystery, is what enables us to deeply respect and love the other person and be careful and not harm and not damage the fragility and the vulnerability of the person and their being. So I think going up the stairway in that picture is an ethical journey. And for us, for Newfield, for Alicia and Rafael and all our team, I think it's our most precious and sacred endeavor in this beautiful job that we have, or task that we have chosen in life. So I invite you also to explore this book and to discover the ethical dimension of coaching and of emergent ontology.
Thank you, Natalia. Thank you very much for inviting us to connect once again how learning and ethics go together, and how one gives a pass to the other, and how this represents us, yes, as coaches in this school and in this place that we really appreciate and like to be. So thank you very much. Very nice. Okay. Before we say goodbye, yes, and to close this space, we know that we have some participants here, and as a small gift, we want to share with some of you a special gift to those 3 persons who arrive first in this presentation. I don't know, Paz or Hugo, if you can help me and put the faces here with me. And if you help me with the names. Hugo, can you help me? Are you there, Hugo? Do you speak English, Hugo? Hugo, ¿me podrás ayudar con los nombres de las personas?
Sí,
Ok,
perdón, es Norma Portilla,
ok. ¿Podemos ponerlos en pantalla a medida que lo vas nombrando?
sí, mm, Josefina Gómez, si levantan la mano,
Acá está Norma. Welcome, Norma, to this spot.
y estoy buscando el otro.
Norma, me falta. Who else?
Josefina Gómez,
Josefina Gomez, are you there? Can you raise your hand?
y Gabriel Becerra.
Gabriel. Gabriel, are you there? Ah, Gabriel Becerra, here you are. Josefina Gomez, I don't see you. Norma, yes. So please, Norma and Gabriel. And who could be the next one? ¿Quién es el siguiente si no Hugo?
Siguiente es José Manuel
José Manuel Podlet,
Podles.
nuestro querido José Manuel. José Manuel, ¿estás por ahí? ¿Puedes levantar la mano, prender la cámara? No sé si por ahí no podrá prender la cámara, pero lo veo. So, we have José Manuel, how are you? Nice to see you. Well, just as a present, we want to share with you the link of two books. You are going to receive for free the link of the books to enjoy them and for being part of this evening. So thank you for being the first three who came and stay here with us. And thank you all of you for joining us this evening and for being part of this international community. And on behalf of Newfield Consulting, Alicia and Rafael, and all the team that work on this with this purpose, thank you for joining us and being with us today. And we look forward to seeing you at our next launch. And we hope you have enjoyed this evening with us today. Thank you very much. For us, it has been a pleasure to share this moment with you. Thank you very much and see you soon.
Thank you.
Alicia,
Dígame,
qué gusto saludarte, Ali.
¿quién habla? No sé quién habla.
Soy Norma
Norma.
Ah,
Portilla, ¿te
Normita.
acuerdas?
Hola, Norma. Hermosa.
Aquí con mucho cariño.
Qué
Saludos para
linda.
ti y para Rafael también. Y a toda la gente, con mucho cariño.
Gracias, querida. Qué rico que te ganaste los libros. Fantástico.
Sí, sorpresa. Gracias. Nos
Muy bien.
vemos.
Sí,
Gracias a ti.
claro.
Felicidades por la presentación muy bonita. Congratulations to all of you. Really. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Los panelistas se quedan 5 minutitos, por favor.